You're a mean one, Mr. Brenton. You really are stealing Nathan's gifts.
Brenton? Flick, what are you doing at my house in the middle of the night?
Oh,
Are you stealing my presents that I opened 3 days ago?
No, that's not what is happening at all. I just was,
We'll put them down, Brenton. We got to record our Grinch episode.
But what will I wear?
I don't know, Brenton. It's an audio medium. Wear whatever you want.
All right, I'll try this on. Ooh. That's it, I'm not recording.
Now dig on this.
Christmas bells are welcome,
Ho, ho, ho.
one and all to classic
Eggnog for
movie
you
banter.
and eggnog for you.
Oh, thank you, glug glug. Oh, that's disgusting.
Isn't it?
Welcome to the show, to that podcast where me, that merry guy Brenton, and that other merry dude at the end of the table there, Nathan,
Bah humbug.
we talk about films that are 20 years or older. 20 years!
Well, 20 years this year.
Exactly. And we tell you, our lovely listeners, if those films are still worth watching today, and more importantly, if they're worth getting all your friends around, for a Christmas Eve special, popping on the film and just eating some Christmas pudding and watching a film and having a good time and learning the true meaning of Christmas with your family and friends.
Oh, what a sweet time. I love that. I love you trying to convince your friends and family to do this after Christmas. Like, it's like the 28th. And you're like, no, this is when we watch the Christmas movie. They're like...
I like to think it's more the case of that, like, Christmas is come and gone, and then you're already getting ready for Christmas the coming year. So, like, you're like, here's the movie options for next year. And everyone's like, dude, it's like basically like 352 days away. And you're like, dude, no, it's fine, guys. It's fine. All right. We'll watch the film now and we'll just test it for Christmas time next year. Get the Christmas pudding back out. Brenton,
this is why we don't watch movies with you anymore,
Shut
Brenton.
the fuck up. Sit that down. We're going to watch the movie. Brenton, that's not the Christmas spirit. Shut the fuck up. We need to get this sorted, guys. Come on.
Oh,
and then
I love it.
Usually I get kicked out and then I have to find somewhere else to live. So.
Oh, that's why you came knocking on my door this Christmas Eve.
Exactly.
Well, Merry Christmas, listeners, and obviously, happy holidays for our other listeners as well who don't do Christmas. But we do! And we're here to talk about a movie that Brenton has been nagging us to do for far too long.
Here's the dealio, guys. Today we're actually talking about. I'm getting straight into it, Nathan.
Right.
Like, you can't stop me. I'm getting into The Grinch, as it was called in the UK and Australia at the time. Not How the Grinch Stole Christmas, which is what it was called in the US. Which I believe is the original name of the book by Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
So how the Grinch was released in the year 2000, and it was directed by everyone's favorite director, Ron Howard.
Oh.
Woo!
Apollo 13's own.
Yeah, Apollo 13's own. He also directed many other flicks, such as
Solo, a Star Wars story, In the Heart of the Sea.
I believe he directed A Beautiful Mind as well.
He won the Oscar for it.
Exactly, and also the Da Vinci Code, funnily enough, as well.
And Angels of Demons. And what's the third one? Inferno. There we go.
I didn't even know if Inferno had been adapted. There you go.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's pretty terrible.
Oh dear. Before we get into pitching, actually no, let's pitch first, and then we'll
That's
chat
normally
later.
how a game starts. Throw the ball, come on. Give it a whack.
Come on, mate. Get it together.
All
Get
right,
it together.
well, Brenton, pitch... Oh, Jesus Christ. Pitch me the Grinch. Can you pitch me the movie?
I'm going to take you to a time when it's snowing someplace in the world.
Not Australia.
It's not Australia. It may be Christmas time. It may not be. You may just be in bloody Tasmania in Australia and it's bloody snowing and you're like, oh, that's odd. Anyway, so it's snowing and then we're going to pan the camera into a single snowflake. A single snowflake, and we're going to go like so close to it, and then I hear that in the distance, and I think it's Sir Anthony Hopkins' voice. Whoa!
Oh.
Holy shit!
What's he doing
What is he doing on the snowflake? But we're zooming in, and we realize that snowflakes actually possess their own universe as well. So like, there's this whole town called Whoville on this one snowflake that's falling.
We'll really get into that. Because that opens a whole horde of questions.
The snowflake is going to land on the ground at some point, and then someone's probably going to step on it. And like, again, like in a blink of of an eye, existence is like destroyed for that society. Anyway, it hasn't happened yet. They're still floating down. How does time work actually in this world?
Is this irrelevant to the movie?
It actually is. So we're going down the snowflake, and we go into Whoville, and oh gosh, everyone fucking loves Christmas in Whoville. Oh gosh, they love when it comes around. They bloody party hard. They party. They set up their whole calendar around Christmas. In fact, they wait for it every year, and they can't wait for it to happen. But one night. Oh, by the way, I'm going to have to get into the backstory of this.
Oh, I feel like a studio exec who's just like looking at all these different diagrams like, wait, what? We're in a snowflake, we're in a village, what's going on?
The truth is of this pitch is that I could have just said it's an adaptation of Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, but I'm not doing that. I'm getting into it. There's this one guy called the Grinch, who is not a who. He's a green furry that lives on Mount Crumpet, which is
I don't know if this is making any more sense, but go on.
which is beside who.
Also,
who
why do you know the name of the mountain? Like,
because it's Mount Crumpet, and he lives on top of Mount Crumpet because he can't fucking stand Whoville, and more importantly, that they love Christmas. That's the reason that he just doesn't go down there. It's like, I hate that fucking shit. Like, fuck off. That's a line in the movie actually, and
wow. But Brenton, I thought this was very well known to be a children's film.
That's what you thought. Anyway, so Jim Carrey's up on the mountain, and he is the Grinch. Actually, it's not just Jim Carrey and the Grinch. He is the Grinch, and he's fucking around. And you know what? He basically 2/3 of the way through the movie, he decides that he's going to steal Christmas.
See, I think that's almost a spoiler. Because it happens 2/3 through the movie.
Yeah, but come on. How the Grinch Stole Christmas is like the name of the film. I know it's the Grinch in Australia, but like he's going to try and steal Christmas. So he's going to, that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying how he comes to that. He decides he's going to steal Christmas, and he thinks of all the ways in which he could ruin it. And you know the way to ruin Christmas? The Grinch thinks is to just take all the presents. And that's the Grinch. That's the Grinch, and he may or may not steal Christmas, but we'll find out, and hopefully we'll learn some life lessons too that'll make us all better people and individuals. Now, Nathan, that's the pitch.
Okay. This movie got made.
And Ron Howard made it. Guys, I'm going to take a little detour here. And I'm going to set it up because I think that I need to explain. Because obviously I've wanted to do this episode for like 2 years.
Also, the listeners have too. When we ask, like, when we've done like It's a Wonderful Life and like other Christmas stuff, people being like, oh, Grinch is like a Christmas staple. So like,
yeah, and
you're
Ebenezer
not alone
Scrooge
in this
over
camp.
there just keeps saying no, the motherfucker. Anyway, so
I can only imagine why.
So my background with this movie is that like I watch this movie every year for Christmas. I watch it with my family. We fucking love it. We sit down around.
Have you really been doing this like 24 years?
We love this. I've been watching this since it came out. I saw it in cinemas actually, and I bloody loved it. Had a great time, had a few laughs, and I watch it every year.
So this sounds like Brenton is announcing some severe bias for this movie review.
Yeah, totally. That's exactly right, because we have to announce the bias. Nathan, what's your experience with The Grinch?
I saw it on a poster once. You know, as I was walking down.
Right.
No, like I
Exactly.
I sat through it once as a kid. I think I was bullied into seeing it from some friends. I think I was around someone's house for Christmas.
It's probably me.
No, thankfully, no, because I knew what you were doing in your little cult house, so I avoided that shit. So like, I think I was at some friend's house and they put on The Grinch, and I'm like, I remember liking it as a kid, but never wanting to go back to it because I'm like,
sure.
You know, it's like a one and done kind of thing. And yeah, that's all I've really. But the more I thought about it, from just like my memory of seeing it when I was like 8, and being like, I don't know about this one.
So that's our setup. So basically,
Me once, Brenton every year.
Like this is a part of me, this movie, and basically the premise of this episode is that I'm probably going to be like, oh, I love this movie based on extreme nostalgia and some technical reasons as well. And Nathan's just going to shit on my childhood. So,
but is there nostalgia? If you've been watching this like every year from being a child, would there be nostalgia? Because then nothing's changed. You'd be watching this through your teen years, your adult years. Like,
I fucking love it. Like there are issues. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not so blinded that I can't see that there are some problems in this film. But Nathan, that's enough about me, and that's enough about you. What did you think of The Grinch watching it here in 2020?
As an adult man going back into this movie, you know what? This is a movie that is so unabashedly made for children. Like, and it's rare to see a blockbuster of this kind of, you know, production value to be pure. It announces it's for children. It retains a lot of the dialogue from this, like, clearly, like, for kind of like age 5 to 8 kind of age group, like from the book. So like it keeps a lot of those elements, and like the tone, the performances, they're all made for young kids. They're watching this as an adult man. You know what, Brenton? I like this. I
Oh
actually
wow!
like
I'm
this movie.
so surprised. I'm actually dumbfounded. Holy shit!
I know.
Wow.
I was surprised as well. And you know what? I was surprised how quickly I liked it as well.
Wow.
It was actually funny when the movie's actual main plot kicked in of the Grinch actually stealing Christmas. Actually, that's when I actually started to disengage a little bit.
Right.
Because the movie was doing what I knew it was going to do. It was actually in these other kind of moments that I saw some nuance and actually some intelligence in this film. And I'm like,
Totally.
I was like, oh, I don't remember the Grinch dealing with capitalism or, consumerism or, segregation from society. Like, or classism. And I didn't know the movie was. By the way, this isn't the Citizen Kane of this movie. It isn't dealing with these themes, but they're there, which is more to be said than a lot of children's films.
Exactly. Nathan, I couldn't agree more. Like, I think that, like, this movie... Actually, when I converse over this film with people, like, everyone seems to have enjoyed it at some point or another.
When you say people, is this, like, other people in your little cult family who watch it every year as well? Or is this,
no,
like...
I mean, like, outside of it. And people quote this movie a lot. Like, it's very quotable, I think.
do.
Like, lots of people love to quote Jim Carrey in The Grinch and, like, some of the shit he says, because it's hilarious. And that's what's interesting about this movie is that they took this book that is very simple, that is very short, that is very sweet, and adapted it and, like, filled it out with all this other rando shit.
Yeah.
That's actually really kind of interesting and makes an interesting world.
Interesting is the correct adjective, yeah.
Yeah. like so
I don't know. It's very ambitious, isn't it? Because this is the first Dr. Seuss book to be made into a movie of this length, right? Like,
absolutely.
Because everyone's read Dr. Seuss. They're so short, and they're rhyming children's books. Like you read one of those books, it doesn't scream feature adaptation, does it?
No.
So it's very ambitious for. Do you know how this movie got made, as far as like the story rights to it? Like,
I know that it was an interesting process. Is all I is.
Because Dr. Seuss's like widow, like as soon as he died back in '91, she was like. Because Dr. Seuss was like, no, don't turn my books into movies. And then he died, and then the wife's like, oh, we can make a lot of money from this. So she put up the rights. Yeah. But like, she had such a weird list of demands of like things they had to make this movie. Like, it had to have a certain budget, had to have a certain like director attached that had like this kind of experience. So like, putting all that together, it's a miracle that this thing got made. And it's weird that it did.
Yeah.
Like, I guess this movie exists, and obviously you're glad it exists, but like, do you think it needed to exist?
Not necessarily, but I'm glad it does. I'm glad that it reinvented something and actually did something with it, as opposed to just like presenting what is in the book, because like this is its own thing at the same time. You know what I mean? Like,
if you want an adaptation of the Grinch book, this ain't it. Like,
and it's for a modern audience as well. Like, it's for an audience that like can sit there and there's so many fucking references to like things that adults will get. The kid that'll go over the kids' heads. Like,
I don't know if that helps the film. I think it's trying to do a little bit of what Shrek's doing, where there's a lot of like adult jokes and they're a little bit crass and rude, and surely kids won't pick it up. But like, I don't know if I want that in a Dr. Seuss kind of story.
Yeah, like it's an interesting balance, isn't it? I'll give you that. But I think for me it kind of works. Like it's kept it, growing up with it, it's kept it so I can still enjoy it and still enjoy the jokes I enjoyed as a kid, but there's something to get. Like when you get older, you're like, oh, that's funny as well.
It's very sexual.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it is. It is extremely
It's a very sexual movie, and I don't know if I like that.
I kind of do. Like, I don't know. Like, I kind of do. But
now we know Brenton's priorities, listeners.
But I just want to like get into technical aspects of the movie. I think the only reason this works, and I think like the reason, say, the Cat in the Hat adaptation failed a few years after this,
is the lead actor.
The lead actor, who's Jim Carrey, who somehow finds this wacky balance between like all this shit and makes it work. I don't know how he does it. I don't know
how he does it too.
How the fuck he pulls it off.
Like and I think honestly, out of all of his performances, I think this will be the one that he really is remembered for, in a sense.
I agree, dude.
Out of everything,
I totally agree.
Because it's funny because you can see he's channeling a lot of The Mask in this. He's very similar to what he was in The Mask.
Yeah,
that kind of outlandish kind of Jim Carrey thing. But of all the lead roles I've seen him in, like with Bruce and all that kind of stuff, like I feel like this is the one you just see literally only Jim Carrey could play this role. There's not a single human who could have done what he does.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And this is going to sound ridiculous, but hear me out.
You want to marry him.
The reason I think it works is, that's already a matter of fact. I mean, I want to be in an open relationship with Willem Dafoe and Jim Carrey. You know me. Oh, God.
There we go. There's an idea.
Anyway, but I think that Jim Carrey, It's like you said, he can only play it because he has all of these crazy Jim Carreyerisms, and towards the end of this movie, he still hits home the message of what the movie's trying to advocate, and he still like gives this heartwarming fucking performance towards the end of the movie to the point that you're like, whoa, this guy he's actually got chops, and he's actually like can act. You know what I mean?
Like, even though he's so loud and outlandish for so much of the movie, he can be silent and he can be like subtle in that way.
There's nuance there, there's meaning there, and there's a character there as well. So good on you, Jim. Like, you're the reason this movie works as well as it does.
He does a lot of gags. They're very rapid. It's very similar to Robin Williams in that sense. Like, the lines are just so rapid fire as far as like what the Grinch is joking about. I also felt, I didn't notice this until this viewing, I feel like he's channeling a little bit of Pennywise.
Interesting, right.
I saw a little bit of it in this, in the sense of like, hello? He's like, there you are. He's like, hey, Billy. It's like that kind of tone that he speaks in. I'm like, what if Bill Skarsgård's in this?
The person I think he's always channeled, which I said in my It's a Wonderful Life review, I think, was It's a Wonderful Life. Like, I always think that, like, he is kind of channeling...
No. What are you doing with all those presents there, young Shindy? A little bit of Jimmy Stewart.
Totally. Like, I think it's a total homage kind of... I think it's an homage to a few things, but I think that's one of the strong elements. I think it is kind of an homage to Jimmy Stewart and It's a Wonderful Life.
I'd love to see Jimmy Stewart. Could you imagine Jimmy Stewart in like a shitty Grinch outfit? Like, that'd be great.
I'd also like to give a shout out to some of the supporting cast. I think like a lot of the supporting cast are funny in their own rights, and they fill out these little...
Funny,
like,
yes. Good, no.
Yeah, like they're funny. Here's where we get into the problems, okay?
Here we go. And there are so many in this movie.
So there's two protagonists to the Grinch. There's the Grinch, obviously, who's the main protagonist, and the other protagonist, you could argue, is Cindy Lou Who.
Yeah.
Who's this little girl that is like trying to basically find meaning in this whole capitalized society in Christmas, and trying to like,
which is an interesting arc to have a child make sense of capitalism. Like, that's an interesting premise.
Yeah, totally. I just hate the kid. Like, I can't stand the kid.
I hate that kid so much. And honestly, it's not the kid's fault entirely. Like, I don't think she's a lot
I agree.
Like, script-wise, she's not been given a lot. And like, also tonally, you can almost see Ron Howard like behind her just being like, little softer, like, you know, like totally. More doe-eyed.
Which is, you know, whatever. Like, but the thing that pushes it over the edge that made me like, and it's the bit in the movie I just never jump on board.
The song?
There's a song. That's right. When the musical elements start to be introduced and the Where Are You Christmas song gets introduced.
There's only 3 in the movie. There's only 3 songs.
Exactly. Because that song isn't a bad song, because they do a badass, spoiler alert, they do a badass like cover of it.
Why the fuck did they give this little girl that song? Like, and she's singing it so softly and so quietly. It's almost like she was too frightened on stage to do it. And like, and she probably was. Like, I don't know why they had it in the movie. Because the only real famous song that comes from this, rightfully, is You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. And that should have been the only song.
Exactly, which Jim Carrey does his adaptation of in this film. And it's great. Like, spoiler alert, it's great. I love it. Like, it's so stupid. Like, it's
funny, because I love that song, but the other two I didn't really care for with the little girls. And also the last song that kind of closes the movie, I didn't really care for.
Oh, I always get amongst the last song. Because
fuck you.
I do get amongst the last song.
It's so
and
cheesy.
Especially because there's a gag made of it, which we'll talk about in spoilers. And it is cheesy, don't get me wrong. It is cheesy.
Making this whole movie's cheesy.
Getting back to technical elements of being like, you know, what makes this a good film that is worth watching? Dude, the production design is through the roof. What the fuck is going on?
Why are movies not doing this anymore? This is shit that makes you gasp, because you can see they quite literally built Whoville. And it's insane, isn't it? The
locations are just amazing.
Oh
like
my God.
the Grinch's lair, Whoville,
like the elevator Jim Carrey takes down into his lair, and he's just like running all about it.
The lights and shit, like, you know, there's a spoiler related to lights and a certain light cannon that is in this movie, like the props and stuff that he used.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
The design of the world itself, like, it is like a Dr. Seuss book come to life.
And it's
great
because like there's so many scenes where you're in the middle of the village, and Ron Howard smartly just does a huge landscape shot for a lot of it, where you just see all these background characters in like insane costumes just filling up this town full of life, and then 2 characters will talk, the whole town will freeze, and you can just see the frames so alive. Like, it's very Star Warsy in that sense.
Totally. And what's amazing too is that, and no other Dr. Seuss adaptation has done this, which is like incredible, because a lot of them become animated because of this, because the design of the animations in the original Seuss novels don't really novels, I say storybooks, don't really relate
I can't
to like
believe they did this.
Actors play them. The makeup,
they actually did it.
It's crazy, but it works.
No,
like,
it doesn't.
Like, to a certain, like, it does work.
No, it
like,
doesn't.
Come on.
No, it doesn't. It gave me huge Cats vibes. I'm like, I don't get that cat shit. No wonder you fucking love it, you cat-loving motherfucker.
I'm amongst it because
of course
I think
you are.
at first you're like, what the fuck is this? And then for some reason, like, because like the actors are working and Jim's working away, like, you kind of start to view them as characters, and I forget about it.
Yeah, it's not a barrier. Like, you do eventually assimilate to it, but it still shouldn't have been there.
Cats is no, it should. I am happy that it worked the way it did. Cat in the Hat, it doesn't work. It's fucking scary. Like, when
also Cats, it doesn't work. Obviously,
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. But also like the things, like Thing 1 and Thing 2 in that
Christ.
film. I haven't even watched that film the whole way through.
Oh,
But
really?
I've seen
I've
those
seen it
bits and I'm
twice.
just like, it's too much. It's too much. Isn't Alec Baldwin in that movie? Isn't he like the guy that's like hitting on the mum?
He's so bad. I can't believe they ripped it. But you can see why, because Grinch made some good money, so you can see why they got, oh, Mike Myers, he's another iconic comedian. Let's get him to do this again, and it bombed.
And Cat in the Hat is arguably, I would say, it's the most famous Dr. Seuss book, like the most famous character. So it's interesting that Grinch was actually first.
It is.
I guess it's like an easy sell of it's a Christmas film. Like it's a.
They're both iconic. Like they're all, but and also Cat in the Hat is like the goldfish and like the talk. Like there's so many good things about.
Totally.
Also, there's so many like low key Dr. Seuss books I'd love to see further adapted. I'd love them to see them do like a one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish kind of thing. Like
yeah, totally. Green Eggs and Ham the movie. Let's go.
Oh, that'd be great. Mate, I'm all for that. Here we go, Sam. I am. Bring him on. But I love Seuss as well. Obviously, it's Dr. Seuss, and also I've been to the Dr. Seuss theme park in America.
There's a doctor. What? I didn't know about this.
I think it's in Orlando, Florida. I'm pretty sure there is a Dr. Seuss section of Universal Studios theme park that's entirely Dr. Seuss, and you can walk around like a Whoville-esque kind of thing.
Okay, yeah. So
I've been there.
Seuss Landing is located in the Islands of Adventure theme park, which, along with its sister theme park, Universal Studios Orlando.
Yeah, there you go.
Volcano Bay Water Park. Okay, this looks crazy. I'm just looking at photos now.
It is so cool, and they get staff members like dress up like the Whovians, and like it's like you're walking around like the set from this movie, and it's insane. Like, should this movie be a theme park? Yes, it already is. I've been to it. It's great. Like,
speaking of Green Eggs and Ham, there's a Green Eggs and Ham like restaurant. Like,
yeah, man.
Yes.
Yeah, man. It's
wow,
cool.
this is incredible. What is this? The Circus McGurkus Cafe.
We now know Brenton's holiday plans for next year.
No, you're coming with me, man.
Oh no, not again.
We're gonna record from
live from the Dr. Seuss theme park. But what else? But if we've done Grinch, what else is older than 20 years? We couldn't. There's literally nothing else to review.
Maybe we go for the Cat in the Hat of anniversary. But like, I don't even want to watch that movie, dude.
No, don't.
Like,
it's
no
bad.
way.
It's bad. But going back,
get back to the film.
Getting back to the production design, especially. Like, I think like it's because also it speaks to the makeup. Like. As well, like the actual Grinch, like even though I don't like the Whovians themselves, I think it works for Jim Carrey because like he doesn't even look human. Like he looks like like the eye lenses and everything. Like it's insane how well it holds up.
And and again, it gives more props to his performance because in those moments that like we get to like capture the Grinch, like with his Grinchness, obviously, like being crazy and being funny or whatever. But like in the moments that he has these quiet moments where which
are still very far and few.
Yeah, but they hit home still, and he's in this fucking ridiculous makeup.
Oh no,
and looks like a monster.
He kind of like pouts in a lot of it. He's like, oh.
Yeah.
He kind of like there's a lot of close-ups to the camera of the Grinch's face. I think because it just took so long to put him in the makeup. They're like, let's get every fucking detail up at the camera.
Totally, but I think Carrey did like a really good job of like working with what he had. Like, I don't know how much he rehearsed like in that suit.
And how much he can move his face.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And how his eyes work in it as well. Like, I'm just amazed that I care for this green monster basically in this film.
Well, he's the protagonist. He is the protagonist. Like
Totally.
to the town, he's the antagonist. But also because you kind of learn more about him as the film goes. Like I was never.
Yeah.
Also, everyone loves the Grinch. You know, like, he's a mean one, yes. But also, is he actually that mean? When you actually see the things that he does in this movie, he's actually not that bad of a guy.
There's a scene in the film that he basically becomes a terrorist. So we'll talk about that later. But
I mean, apart from that, Brenton, terrorism aside, like he's just prank calling people. He recycles. Like he does good things. You know,
dude, the prank calling's fucking hilarious.
Also, one thing we've omitted: why does the Grinch have a dog?
Oh, Max. Oh, Max.
It's the most 90s thing to be in this fun bloody movie. Let's just give him a
cute
dog.
dog, though.
I can't remember if he has a dog in the book. Does he?
Yeah, he does. I'm sure he has a dog in the book.
He makes it. Yeah.
Because there's a gag in the book that's in the film as well.
That's right.
Yeah, the dog's great. Love the dog. I love their interactions as well. Like, because it's basically Jim Carrey monologuing. Like, again.
Yeah.
But again, the dog's a character as well. Like, in the sense of like he's like hanging about. He tries to teach the Grinch some lessons. Like, he's a real good doggo, and he's a cute doggo, and we love Maxie the doggo. Like, we love you, Max.
We love you, Max. You're doing good. And like he's dancing for all the movie as well. Like the dog was doing tricks. You know. Oh, you could tell the animal owner really, made their dog dance, work for their dollar.
Some would say that dog should have been in our top 7 animals.
I'm surprised you didn't think of that, actually. Surprised you didn't mention it.
Yeah, totally. You guys should check out that episode, by the way. It's a hoot.
Brenton, here's a hoot. But thematically, do you think it works?
This is what I was about to bring up. Did it hit home for you? Because I watch this movie every time, and there's a scene that gets me every time I watch it, and I'm just like, and I get amongst it, and I'm like surprised that it sells it as well as it does. And then it just like I walk out of this film and I feel like so elated. I feel so heartwarmed. I feel like so much closer to family. And again, that might be biased because I watch it with my family.
Yeah.
I will give props to the movie as well because I think it is the film to a certain extent. There's a scene I want to talk about in spoilers.
All right, save your bloody spoiler shit for spoiler, mate.
Yeah,
in general.
I would argue that thematically it does hit home. Despite all the shit around it, despite all the stuff.
Like, it brings up themes. They're there, right? You see this society who is deeply consumerist and this little girl is like, oh, we've lost the true spirit of Christmas because all we fucking care about is presents. Like, that's there. That's the message. And that's very Dr. Seuss. Like, Dr. Seuss was very against that. But, like, I don't think, like, the movie, apart from that, goes anywhere with it. Like, we never explored how they became consumerist, or, like, we never really see...
No.
Like, we see the ramifications of it, certainly, like, in their interpersonal relationships. But, like, I wanted to see a little bit more as far as, like, the thematic depth goes. Like, also just logistically, like, where they all get the presents from, like, how... Like, it says a little bit about environmentalism with the recycling. Like, they're all there. I feel like there's a lot of things brought up, but it doesn't really go anywhere with a lot of it.
I would say that those are kind of sub-themes, and that, like, the main themes it really hits home on. I agree with that. So I think like the main themes of like finding the true meaning of Christmas and like, maintaining ones like what...
Which, by the way, is a theme you and I regularly mock on this show.
Totally. But
it is the kind of premise of it.
They find it. And there's a scene in this towards the end. And this isn't the scene I was talking about before. But there's another scene that like you do see this society kind of, I guess, come together on something.
Yeah.
And,
but I don't know. Characters coming together, it's not enough for me personally, Brenton.
Okay. Well, how... Because I agree to a certain extent that maybe some of these should have been deepened a bit. But I'm not sure how.
Also, you know what? We don't actually see them change. Like, we see them on one bloody Christmas night kind of like learn a lesson in this children's film. I wanted to see, systemic change, Brenton. I wanted to see them bring these ideas to Congress and I wanted to see them pass new laws so we could prevent this happening for their future Christmases.
I guess we'll have to wait till the Grinch too.
Oh, here we go. But like, that's the thing. I'm surprised that this children's film, which retains a lot of like the rhyming, there's a lot of rhyming in this. There's a lot of like, Anthony Hopkins going, and who's the who of Whoville?
This was going to be the next thing I brought up. How do you think it handles the narration and bringing those elements to it? And
it feels almost incongruous. I feel like the film couldn't decide what it wanted to be, if it wanted to be this deep deconstruction of this children's novel of like, oh, okay, here's some clear things that we as a society are doing wrong with the amount of, consumerism we're prioritizing with Christmas. Do we really care that much about family? There's someone who doesn't believe in Christmas. Let's have like interfaith dialogue as a theme we could have in this movie. But it kind of sacrifices that a little bit because it's like, oh, look at how whimsical we're all being and everyone's being a little bit this and that. It's like, so I don't know if they need to be there as both.
Look, I would argue, like, I get your point. I do get your point, but I think like some of this film's most interesting. There's some interesting moments in this movie where it breaks kind of the narrative of where you think it's going. That we kind of we become reflective like the Grinch does, and we look back, to a certain extent. And like I hear your point, but at the same time, I think it's a hard balance for the movie. Like I think good on it for trying in the sense of like yeah, exactly, that it brings up these things. And I see what you're saying, but I don't think it could go as far as you maybe wanted it to, because again, it's still made for kids, and I think the fact that it's made for kids and it still hits home on some of these messages is commendable.
So I was surprised it brought it up. Like, yeah, it is commendable, but also it for a film that runs an hour 40, it doesn't effectively use a lot of its screen time. The movie spends it really doesn't. And also the movie weirdly has a lot of movie parodies in it. Like the movie's very self-referential to a lot of other films in cinema.
Totally.
And I don't know if that, it's very 90s of it, which obviously it's a product of its time, but like I don't know if it necessarily works in that sense. Like he breaks the fourth wall at one point. Like I feel like it's packing a lot in, which is kind of ironic considering what the message of this movie is. But like,
totally, yeah. So
I don't know if it all has to be there. Like,
yeah, okay. Would you have cut some stuff out then?
Yeah, obviously the two songs I didn't like, but like, yeah, there's definitely, you know what? I was very tempted to cut out the entire flashback sequence we got, but then later on I understood why it's there. So no, I'm not going to say that. It has to be in there narratively, but like, there's still little.
Don't you touch my flashback sequence.
What I would cut out, Brenton, is the overtly sexualized mayor's wife. She doesn't need to be in the movie. That whole subplot doesn't need to be in the movie. It's like that.
See, I kind of love it though.
No,
I kind of love where it ends up. I kind of love where it ends up. I agree that it's fucking weird, and as a kid, I was like, what the fuck is this going on? I was like,
so
Jesus
sexual.
Christ, what is going on?
And also, like the father-daughter relationship plot kind of isn't explored that much. It's kind of breadcrumbed in.
Yeah, I actually would have liked to see more of that, to
Yeah.
be honest. I think I would have loved another little scene between that family because I like where it ends up and I like how it's established.
Yeah, but the work isn't done in the middle to kind of go from A to B,
Exactly.
you know? Like,
I'd like another scene in there. Get rid of the song. No one needs that song. And add another scene between daddy and daughter. And I think it would have that would have been better. But at the same time, I like what we get. I like where we end up. And maybe the threads just weren't there to see us through. I'm still tossing up with the mayor's wife storyline because I love the mayor. I do love the mayor. The mayor's fucking
Jeffrey
hilarious.
Tramble, like, mate. like, he's doing good work.
Killing it. So good.
Like the acting's fine and all, but they all know they're in a kids' movie, so like I'm all for that. Oh, did you spot Ron Howard at one point?
No, I didn't. I didn't know he had a cameo.
One of the Whovians walked past on the screen for like 2 seconds. I'm like, is that Ron Howard? And then I looked it up later on. I'm like,
Wait.
yeah.
Wait, I think I know the one. I'm gonna look him up.
I think he's got like a long beard or something like that. Like,
yeah, I think
Yeah.
I know the one.
I was like, Ron Howard, there you are. Look at you. You've grown since American Graffiti.
Yeah, there he is.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't have the long beard.
Oh.
He's he's got like a big spiky looking mohawk thing.
Ah.
And it looks exactly. That's so strange.
I thought for a second that little girl was Bryce Dallas Howard because I thought that's something Ron would do, but I'm like, nah. Turns out she's not.
Mate.
Interesting. She, as an actress, was meant to be Hannah Montana. She was like in the top 3 back in the day.
Rip, I guess.
I know. And then she's like, I don't want to act anymore. I'm going to have this music career, and that's how she's going.
Good on her. Good on her.
Good on her. Yeah.
She should definitely do another cover of Where Are You Christmas?
Oh,
Because we love
Christ.
that song
As an
so
adult,
much.
sure. But you know what? Speaking of Ron Howard, I do want to give him props because out of all of his directing work that I've seen, I actually feel like this is the one he's tried the most.
I agree. Okay, you can see, because I think he dedicates this film to his mum at
Yeah.
the end of it. Like,
Yeah.
and you can see that it meant something to him. You know what I mean? That he really wanted to get this one
But
right.
even the energy behind the camera, like with the zooms
Yep.
and like he loves his Dutch angles in this one. But like,
yeah, totally.
yeah.
Some of the montages as well, I think, are really well done. Like from an editing standpoint, like I think it's well made. Like as much as like as strange as that sounds, like because it is strange that this movie works as well as it does. It's bizarre.
I was really surprised by that, and the whole time I was watching this, I was thinking like, honestly, what would I do more? What would I want more out of a Grinch movie? Like looking at this
Totally.
product that we had before us, I'm like, what else could this do to make it a more complete Grinch movie? And honestly, these things you don't have to mention, they're little. Like,
Yeah.
like script wise, it's not that problematic, despite like these things that we want to cut out. Like it's
Yeah, I think I've still been thinking about this mayor's wife, and I think that it could still work. I think he could tweak it though. I think it does need tweaking. I agree.
because it's just like a love triangle with Jim Carrey. It's like I don't need this. Like the Grinch doesn't need a romance plot. Like,
I think why not? Like, because I like where we end up, and I like that it's kind of about
I
him, like,
don't. It's awkward, and you know what? You've probably been desensitized to it, Brenton. I'm gonna throw that allegation.
Maybe, but I disagree because I still feel weird there's a scene that I
You
feel
still
weird
feel
about
awkward
in this
after all
movie,
these years.
and I think that if you tweaked it a bit, it could work. So that's what I have to say on that.
All right.
But I agree with your point. I do agree with your point because I'm still weirded out a little bit. As a kid, I was like,
she's not a good wife in this. Should
all
we
that
rate
being
it?
said, shall we? Yeah, I agree.
You're fond of me lobster, ain't you?
I'm going to give this, obviously, this is no surprise, so I'll go first. I give this a thumbs up. I think it's really worth a watch still today. I think there's enough in it that makes it worth watching because it works.
Weirdly
It's a
holds
weird,
up. I guess shouldn't, but it does.
I think, has got some really creative ideas and, is still worth a watch because of those ideas.
You sound like a children's, like a Stanford judge. Like there was a lot of creativity in this one. Like before you give them like a participation certificate, it's like you're all very creative.
Good on you, Ron Howard and Jim Carrey. You made it what it was.
I would pay
so
all
well
the
done.
money to see like a children's at Stanford. Then the first place trophy goes to like Ron Howard or Jim Carrey. They walk up on stage with these children, just like take that.
So, what do you think, Nathan? What do you stand?
Oh, jeez. It's like, yeah, I think it's going to be a thumbs up. But
Wow.
I will preface it by saying, like, don't watch this by yourself, like, right after Christmas after you spent it alone. Like, this is clearly, like, a film made for families. Watch it with a family,
Yeah.
like, with children in the room. If you don't have any, please don't take any. Like,
Yeah.
Make your own. At the end of the day, you feel good. This is a feel-good movie. And, like, yes,
Yeah.
it's so flawed. But, like, and honestly, we haven't mentioned the 2018 Grinch movie, but, like, I think I'd want this over that. Because, like,
Totally.
it's dramatically more interesting seeing this shit live action than seeing it animated.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm saying yes to it. I've been shitting on this movie for years.
I can't believe
I
you're saying yes.
can't believe
either,
I'm
but
giving it a thumbs up, Brenton. What the fuck is wrong with me?
no, there's nothing wrong with you, Nathan. Get that idea out of your head. You're just
Oh.
expressing your opinion, and you were wrong. So,
I'm probably just still in like a food coma from Christmas, and I'm just like, I'm vulnerable. I'm like by the bed, and you just like pass this little will in front of me, and you're like, sign this, Nathan. And it's like a I love Grinch waiver. Like,
the food looks insane in this film. The food looks absolutely bonkers.
yeah. Very plastic though, may I add.
Yeah, totally.
It ain't like your Hogwarts feast. Like you can very well tell this is fake.
I'd try it.
We're not doing our food episode again, Brenton. Jeez.
Nathan, shall we spoil this
Yeah,
shit?
let's spoil it. You spoiled it.
What?
The movie.
Oh. Take us away, buddy.
Let's start chronologically as far as the narrative goes with the Grinch's backstory. Because when it first came on screen, I was like, because I was kind of waiting for him to start stealing shit. I was so surprised that he came through 2/3 through the movie. I always remembered it happening much sooner.
Nah, man.
I was like, oh wow, he doesn't start stealing shit till like the last like 30 minutes. I'm like, oh okay.
Yeah.
I was like, come on, I don't need to see Child Grinch. But then we started seeing Child Grinch, and I'm like, no, we need to see Child Grinch.
It's amazing.
Because it's so weird. It's so weird.
I want to start with these two lesbian mothers that are just like found this kid that like
They got a same-sex couple in here. I love it.
it's so great. I love those two so much. I love as well that like when he comes to the Grinchmas or whatever it is, like the Whoville celebration, and he's like the guest of honor, and they're like, "We missed you."
They're just bloody running up to him, getting ready to pinch his cheek,
and then
get him a
he's like,
sweater.
"You two are still living."
And he's genuinely upset they're still alive, even though they're the only ones who really love him.
It's so funny.
Oh. It's so funny because they knit him such a shitty sweater. It's like, you almost think like Molly Weasley made it. And like, he just puts it on. He looks so unhappy to be there. It's like, why the fuck did I agree to this? Like, I love him.
But yeah, let's start with the backstory because I love them. I love that he's just like this little anarchist at heart, basically, and then he's like in the classroom drawing like death to Santa, basically.
It's like, I think this stems into a broader conversation we should have about this society, because I think we need to establish this early on in this chat. What is the deal with this society, Brenton? Like, with the people of Whoville, what happened?
Okay, so I think what's happened is that this all started with good intentions, as it always does. And things spiraled out of control. Like, things started, like, this is an excessive town with a bunch of passionate people.
Okay.
And I think they got lost along the way when, one, the commercial side of things started coming in. And, like, basically, if you're spending a whole
like
year...
real life Christmas. Rather than celebrate Jesus, let's do presents.
If you're building up a whole thing to one date, but you don't actually have, like, anything else to, like... there's no other holidays, there's no other things, there's just we're building up to this one day. Of course there's a fucking clock in the town that counts down the days till that one day. And of course, like, your whole society is like basically like currency, everything evolves around this one thing, right? On top of that, it's used for like political gain as well, which I think is really interesting, like with the mayor and whatnot, who is like using this to like, you know, keep in power. Kind of like...
Yeah. There's something dark going on there. Like...
Yeah, totally.
And it's really funny because, like, looking at the facts that we know, there is a real Santa in this. We see him at one point.
Oh, yeah. Santa's real. Santa's not a snowflake, bitches.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is going on
That's a big thing as well. The final shot of the movie is this, like, huge, like, twist reveal that this Whoville society exists on a falling snowflake. And you're like, okay. It's very akin, spoiler alert, to Men in Black, when it's revealed that their whole universe is in a marble. So I'm like, which I think came out before this. So like, how does this work? Do you reckon like when snowflakes are made, they suddenly, in this universe, like they have birthed this society, and the society lives out as many Christmases as it takes to like fall down as a snowflake?
I think it's like our own Earth. I think like, you know, as the snowflake's falling, like however time works, by the time that snow...
the sun expands.
Yeah, like basically it's like the sun dies. Like, you know, the universe like...
Do you think their snowflake is the only one that's sentient, or there's like just millions of these Whovian like kind of...
No, I think like our own Earth, I think there's probably going to be some
parallel
planets out there
universes,
that have some life, you know.
That's interesting.
I think that when the snowflake started, like there was no life on, like there was, you know, there was
like an Adam and Eve who just like as they build the society.
No, I think there was dinosaurs on that shit before like it got like
with their little
down,
presents,
like, you know.
Just like in their little houses. Oh no, don't remind me of The Good Dinosaur.
Mankind came along, you know, and proved they were dominant and broke the food circle and fucking like, you know.
Because there are other animals in this. They eat chicken and that kind of stuff. So like that.
But here's the real question though about this whole snowflake thing, because like yeah, there are animals and whatnot, but how did Christmas come about and what does Christmas celebrate? Because
well, it's clearly not Jesus or anything like that. Like it's purely Santa based.
Exactly.
So like
exactly.
I like to think it's kind of like almost like El Dorado. Like there's like Santa's like this deity, and it's like rather than like sacrifice, they just have to do this ritual to kind of appease the Santa god. Oh no, so their gifts or like Santa coming down to give gifts is like their kind of sacrifice kind of motion. It's like it's like keeping Santa at bay so he doesn't like fuck things up.
Yeah, maybe they're just terrified of Santa. Like when they wake up, the Cindy Lou's parents wake up that one night because the Grinch is in their house. and she's like, it's Santa. Shh, we gotta go to sleep.
Well, that's
it's
the
like,
thing.
It's like, if we don't go to sleep, like, we're gonna have a shit year. You know what I mean? Like, Santa's gonna fuck our shit up. You know.
Well,
like, it's not
tapping
gonna be
into
good.
their fear, it's clear that they don't fear the Grinch himself. They just more fear that he doesn't believe in Christmas or he doesn't like Christmas.
Yeah,
like it's very
keep him out of the
blasphemous.
town.
So I think it's because that's gonna upset Santa rather than their own society.
That's interesting. I like that. Okay, so then in that being said, if what's keeping us together is the fear of Santa, how does the family aspect come into it? Because towards the end of this movie, like, it's all like, well, fuck, the Grinch stole Christmas, stole everything Santa did, but I'm already happy because I got my family right here. How does that work into things?
Well, I don't think it's that relevant. I think as far as the family element goes, I think Santa is responsible for the umbrella babies. I think Santa's the one that's fueling their society.
Nathan, you hit it on the head.
Yeah.
Well done. Yeah. Okay.
I like to think, however Santa makes these babies, I like to think that the Grinch was like a defect one, and he's like woken up to the woke truth of the society. He's like, feck. And that's why he like crashes into the society. He's like, this is all a lie. He's like wearing a little tinfoil hat. We're all in a snowflake.
Maybe the Grinch is like the Jesus figure. You know what I mean? Maybe the Grinch is like, because he sends him down in Christmas colors. Like he's the chosen one. Like, who knows? Like, I think as well, like, what's interesting about this whole idea is that since you've brought up the whole Santa thing and Santa sends down the babies, that brings up another question I have about society, right? Okay, does sexual intercourse exist between those? Or like, you know...
I don't think so. I truly don't think so.
There's no sexual drive. But
No.
there is, Nathan. There is. Because
I think there's sexual drive. And I think that's why there's a sexual drive, because they don't have sex. So these creatures are very sexually frustrated. Case in point, the mayor's fiance.
you can't make something that has that drive and then it's useless. So like, how do they express it?
Tell that
Do
to a
they-
Catholic priest,
Do you think there's sex, or do you think like, because it doesn't do anything clearly? 'Cause Santa says-
Okay. I think biologically these creatures could procreate if they want to, but I think religiously because of Santa they can't. You know, it's like
Whoa. Okay, that's fucked up. That's really fucked up. That means that then like they're saying no to their like, you know, genetic disposition to like breed basically.
Yeah.
And accepting gift babies from
Yeah,
Santa.
but sexual abstinence is like the bedrock of like half the world's religion. So like it's not that outlandish to think the society doesn't do it.
But you know, there's a point that like, you know, even if you're like abstinent, like there's a point that like
You will eventually have sex at some point.
you have exactly. So like, you know,
I don't think they do. And I think that drives a lot of their craziness, to be honest.
holy shit.
Yeah, I mean,
that's that is fucked up, dude. That is like
Do you want to know another fucked up thing about this?
okay, keep going.
So I was
Keep
going to bring in fan theories as a special segment, but I'm actually going to do it here.
Yeah.
Because I found
go.
on the internet. So that was all my ideas just then. But here's one I found on the internet, and I want to credit it to this user on Reddit called Baloo78. Because I was
on you,
wondering
Baloo.
the whole time, why does the Grinch have a dog? The reason the Grinch has a dog, and it comes from this Reddit user who I read first, said it probably was come up before them. But they said that the Grinch gets everything that he owns because it's recycled Christmas presents, right?
Oh no, keep going.
Which means that Max the dog must have been a Christmas present for one of the Whovians. Somehow they got a dog in this universe. He's the only dog we see. And therefore he wasn't wanted. So they must have thrown the dog away. He must have gone down the chute and then come into the Grinch's life. In which case, that's why he's so loyal to the Grinch. Because he's the one who actually wanted the dog.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with all that. That makes sense. Here's the question, though. Do you reckon as well... Here's another option, okay? Because we never see any other dogs.
No. The Grinch is building an ark. Get on my sled. We'll have one of each.
But you never see, like, cows walking the street. And why is that? Because cows are food in our society, right? Do you think that the Who's eat dogs?
Oh, dear. I mean, we have no evidence for it. So, like, we do see there's one only dog. But also, I'm pretty sure the dog is walking around town and no one really reacts to that. Like,
Yeah,
if that was
that
the
is
only
true.
dog, they would react.
That is true. At the end of the film, Cindy Lou's sitting next to Max at the dinner table and it's all fun and games.
Yeah.
And everyone's happy.
No one's like, get on the table, dog. Like, no,
Yeah.
no one's pushing that.
Okay, yeah, I take that back then. I just
Yeah.
had the thought because there's no other dogs. Interesting. How do animals breed then? Do you think they actually breed, or does Santa send them down as well?
I think Santa sends everything. I think this is because also, where do they keep getting all these presents from? Like, if you think of this as an economy and they're all buying presents from each other, where's all this money going? It's like from all the sale profit and taxes are just to buy presents. Like, it seems like this is just a perpetually kind of self-sustaining economy.
I think the taxes go towards like the Christmas celebration, right? Or like new infrastructure dedicated to Christmas. It's like, guys, chip in because we need to like fucking show Santa we love him.
Yeah. That's why they're that huge tree. It's like, when Jim Carrey burns it down, they must be like, fuck, here we go. We're going to be dead to Santa next year. Oh, you know what it's like? You know what it's fucking like? This is identical to A Bug's Life. This is exactly what they do for
that's
Chopper,
true.
where they just like hurl this shit every year. and they're just all here to please
Maybe though
Chopper.
they're celebrating when the tree burns down because they had the spare one because they were like, Santa, we were so prepared that we have like all these trees ready to go. Like, because we love you so much. Like, you know, anything could happen to us and we would be ready. We would not be destroyed. Our love to you is so strong. Okay, here's this is gonna keep going. Do you reckon then the lesbian couple had a bad year after the Grinch baby like bit the Santa plate, like bit his head off? They're like, oh no.
Like it's like bad luck.
Oh,
it's just like, oh no.
Oh, no.
Probably. I would say superstition plays a part in this universe. Like, they're very superstitious people. So I'll go there.
Okay. Do you think the Grinch had a bad life because he tried to shave his Grinchness away and he was the chosen one? It was like Jesus didn't want to, like, it's like if Jesus didn't want to die on the cross. Like,
look, I don't think it's very healthy if we draw real parallels to real world religions, Brenton.
This is horrible. Let's get out of this. But
okay.
This has been very enjoyable, I gotta say.
Okay, well, to end all that little note, yes, I think there are clear parallels that you can see the society mirroring cult-like societies that we have had in the world in real life.
Okay,
I think we can accrue that Whoville is a cult.
Okay, cool.
And that's going to be the title of this little YouTube tangent that we'll put up on the internet. Whoville is a cult.
That's a long tangent, dude. That was a good time.
Tell you what, though, I want to talk about a character that I actually hated in this movie, and she's only in it for like maybe one scene. It's the teacher in this flashback. What a
fuck
horrible
that teacher.
person.
Oh man, exactly. When like everyone starts laughing at, and then she like scoffs as well and laughs at him because he's like of his shaving scars or whatever.
Terrible. What
an awful
I
teacher.
can see why he's against the society. They're all terrible. Like, no one's really that good except for young Cindy Lou, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I hate the society. The one thing I only like about them, and a lot of other movies do this, I love scenes where you have two characters have a conversation and there's a crowd behind them. And as they're having like an argument, the crowd's kind of like giving their opinions on the argument. Everyone's like, oh, that's a good point. And like they're all murmuring. I love that.
Totally.
I love those scenes. Like, they're all just idiots.
There's a few of them in this movie as well.
Yeah. Like, wait a minute.
There's a few of them.
There's
There's the climactic scene where like Cindy Lou's dad's like, oh, the true meaning of Christmas is my family right here. Everyone's like, yay, we're on board with that idea, you know?
Yeah.
But also like in the celebration bit where like when the idea of the Grinch like is like coming down to the town to be the cheermeister or whatever. And everyone's like, no, not the Grinch. Every time the Grinch's name is mentioned is hilarious.
Everyone's like, oh, everyone gasp collectively.
like there's a car crash, like a family dies or something.
God.
And then,
Yeah! And I love it when he like first walks in when like there's a proposal and he's like scratching the nails on the car. He's like, oh, he's great.
I love that first bit as well when he's like, what do you want? I mean, the Grinch? Oh no.
I love it. I love that whole initiation sequence as well. When like he's like, you know, he's that cheer squad leader. There's one bit I literally pissed myself laughing where like all the crowds are like coming up to him, they're all like supporting him, and they're all just starting to feed Jim Carrey.
Oh my gosh.
And as they're stuffing his face with like Christmas pudding, there's one guy that walks up to him and he says to him, "This isn't pudding," and he just stuffs the food in his mouth.
No, the funniest bit after that, because Jim Carrey's like eating it all right. He's like eating it all, and he's like,
which is by the way real food that they shot.
It's so funny that he like has it in his mouth a bit, he chews a bit, and he spits that one out. It's so funny, dude. Like, watch that. But this isn't pudding, and he's like, which is funny itself, and then he's like, and just spits it out. It's so good.
Oh,
so good.
It's
yeah,
so
that whole
good.
Initiation sequence is hilarious. That montage is hilarious.
Oh.
But the climax of that scene is fucked up as well because I don't like the mayor either. The mayor's not a good
because
guy.
he berates this little girl in front of the entire town.
Totally.
What is wrong with you?
That's probably the worst thing he does. But the other bad thing is that he like instigates like the whole event of the Grinch destroying the town by giving him the shaver.
Yeah.
And it's not like a funny joke. Like if he said that as like a little funny thing with like it's all in good fun, it's like as a show of respect of like a memory. But he does it to like rile the shit up.
Yeah.
Which is funny because he must have had that gift ready to go. He must have been like, if the Grinch does show up, bring this because like we've got history there. And what a piece of
I love
work.
it when his assistant shaves his head too. You're just like, you idiot.
Oh, the shaving of the head is so funny. You look fabulous.
Oh my god.
So good.
Like, I love this crowd so much because they're just so stupid. I love when Jim Carrey crashes into the town with the sled at the end and the dad's standing in front of the tree, and for some reason the dad tries to use like the force to like stop the sled from like crashing into him.
Speaking of the sled and like the whole, let's talk about the whole stealing of the Christmas.
The actual
shit.
plot.
Yeah.
Which is not in this movie that much.
Yeah. So how's that sled, hey? The rocket sled that he powers
cool.
down the hill. What an invention, dude.
Oh, you know what? I actually wouldn't mind having that kind of like action figure thing as a kid. I reckon that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah. It's a cool toy. Very cool toy. So he uses the vacuum cleaner from the Teletubbies to basically suck up all the Christmas shit out.
That's an image I really didn't.
He raids the fridges. He does all that. And why is that vacuum cleaner in the Teletubbies? It's so weird. Anyway, so he gets it all. He runs into Cindy Lou. He's like, there's a light on this tree that isn't quite bright, and I'm going to take it back to my factory. And then she's like, what's the true meaning of Christmas? And he's like, presents. And she's like, oh, I'm so disappointed. Sends her off.
She's like, I knew it.
Max drags that sled up the mountain. Poor dog. That dog is fit, by the way. Like the fact
How
that
the hell does that dog log it up? Like that shouldn't happen.
The fact that he doesn't go into cardiac arrest or whatever, like it's just incredible. Good on you, Maxie. You're the MVP. So he gets to the top, and then he realizes that like all the Who's are still singing. You know, it's a great moment. That he's like, you hear the distance, the carol that they're singing, and then he realizes that
there's like cardiac arrest.
Dude, I love this scene. I love this scene when he like has this realization, because this is the bit that gets me, and I don't know why it gets me so much. I don't know why it's always gotten to me, but it's like the performance is like, it's so cheesy, right? It's so stupid and cheesy, and it should just be like, oh gosh, of course he does. But it just gets me every time because Jim Carrey sells it with such sincerity.
He
in
does.
That moment.
That's what lifts it.
Yeah, and then you're like, wow, like this means a lot, and then he like has like tears like in his eyes as he says this like line, and then it's funny again because he goes like, Max, I love you, and Max like runs over to him or whatever, and then he becomes like he basically incites this change in the Grinch. Dude, that was the scene that just gets me every time I watch this movie.
Yeah,
like,
it's nice, but honestly, it's kind of cheesy. So I don't think that's why as an
I
adult
get it.
I really felt that much.
I totally.
Also,
I
you see
totally
it coming a
get it.
mile away. You know, the second you meet the Grinch, he's gonna turn.
Yeah, totally. But again, it's execution. Like Jim Carrey just executes that scene so well. And again, it's one of those bits that I'm like, Ron Howard and Jim like just gave a shit about this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's so easy to probably phone this in and just be stupid and idiotic and have fun, but to have like the depth behind it was just nice. Speaking of Ron Howard, though, do you know that Jim Carrey does a Ron Howard impersonation in this film?
Does it?
You know the bit where he's like trying to teach Max to be a reindeer? And he like...
Oh, and he's being a
horn on his
director.
head.
Yeah.
So he was just improvising on set that day, and he did this long improvisation of basically how Ron directs a film. And that whole thing is just a Jim Carrey impersonation of Ron Howard.
That's so funny.
And they kept it in the movie.
Oh, good on him.
You know how he basically like takes the nose off himself?
Oh,
He
yeah,
does, like,
yeah,
the whole
yeah.
action.
Genius.
And then like Ron Howard basically just does like a whole thematic like,
Deconstruction of it.
investigation
Of course,
into
yeah.
what like, what? No, I don't think of that. All right, cut it. Let's move on. Like, it's great. It's so good.
I didn't even know that. That's amazing. Oh, that's
It's
so
amazing,
good.
yeah.
Oh, and obviously the best line Jim Carrey says in this movie is the most memed line from this film, right?
Which one?
The when he has to get changed and he's like,
Ooh, ah.
It's
Dude,
so
I always
good.
do that. It's like my party trick is I do that scene.
Oh, when he like gets changed and that kind of stuff, and like, oh, like, and he like, you know, gets into like a skirt at one point and he's like fully naked.
He like supposedly like murders that one like yodeler. That's just like
He's just
who we never see again.
Yeah, he's just dead now. So he just like wears like a lederhosen and he's just like, oh, it's like, that's it, I'm not going. Like, I just love that line. It's just so good. Oh, there's some things that he says that doesn't hold up. At one point he says, are you going to put me in a chokehold? I'm like, ooh.
In a what?
One point, like when he says, arrest me, and he's like, put me in a chokehold. I was like, ooh, that doesn't hold up. Ooh.
Yeah, that cop is a nice cop though. You gotta say, like that, like the Grinch fucking wrecked the town. Like
Yeah.
he did some, he like you know he broke some laws.
He
you
does
know?
some crimes. He like, what does he do? He like gives jury duty to like half the town and like he wraps up a little
Yeah.
girl.
But no, he also like sets a light. He like causes like public harm. I think he like you know like really hurts some people. He destroys public property. He steals. He robs, and then he comes back and he's all like, "I'm sorry." And the mayor, rightly so, says like arrest the guy, like give him life imprisonment. And the police officer's like, "I heard it. He said he's sorry." And
Yeah.
everyone's like,
Oh, that
and the
guy. That's my favorite thing that he says. He looks at the sack and he's like, he gives like the sack one glance and he's like, oh yeah, everything's accounted for. This looks like all the presents.
looks like everything's accounted for, and it's like, how do you know?
Mate,
and also like,
You looked at the sack for like 2 seconds.
there's literally food in there, right? That
Yeah.
is spoiled for sure.
Yeah.
Like you can't put that back in the fridge. Like
Oh.
everyone's gonna like. Oh, anyway.
No, it'd be so funny. The final feast scene is like them like at the table, but all the food's rotten from when he's doing it. Everyone's like, oh.
And it's like, dude, there's like carpet in my food. You. One of my favorite bits actually is the bit after that is when the guy goes, he said he's sorry, and the Grinch pulls this his happy face of like, wow, that's so nice. But it's also like if you look at it in a different context, it could be like, wow, I got away with that. If I just say I'm sorry for everything, I can just rob people all the time.
That's how I live in this society. This weird Santa cult society.
sorry. But yeah, and then they sing the carol at the end, and they're away. You know, they
I hate that. You know what I really wanted to happen in that moment? I wanted them to sing, and then I wanted the echo of the "You're an idiot" to kind of like go over that, just like as it was like bouncing around the town.
How good is that joke, by the way?
I think that's my favorite joke the whole movie. Truly,
I'm an idiot. You're an idiot.
It's just great. Does that mean the cave's sentient? Probably. Like,
The leading into that gag is so good as well when he's going through his schedule. He's
Yeah.
like, even if I wanted to go, I just couldn't.
wallow in self pity. Like,
Dinner with myself, I can't cancel that again.
it's so good.
I'm booked. It's so good. I love that as well, that he just like smashes like the shit that Grinch eats in this movie
Oh
as
my
well.
God.
Like the onion.
What
at
a
the
good year.
start, smashing the bottle and he eats the glass. It's like, am I just eating because I'm bored?
Oh,
or
yeah.
like whatever he says, that like so funny. So good.
We obviously know the stupidest thing to be in this movie, right? And there's a lot of stupid things, but the stupidest thing is that light gun.
Oh yeah, dude, the light battle. Yeah, for
I
sure.
thought that was going to be brought back. I thought it was going to use it as like a weapon or something. Like,
I thought it was too, but it kind of is, I guess, that they team up and they use the lights to slow down the sled. But like, I wish it had come back, that gun, because
because it introduces a conflict between like the dad's wife and then like the girlfriend of the mayor.
Yeah.
But like it's not really explored.
yeah, it's just a weird subplot again, like just one of those things that's just kind of there. The scene that is just like ridiculous. When you said the most ridiculous thing, yeah, the light gun's ridiculous. But one of my favorite like moments in the movie is when the Grinch like starts having flashbacks or whatever, and he goes, "Now to get rid of those pesky memories," and he starts like hammering himself in the head. He turns on like all the sound like he can in his cave, and then he like starts up. He has like this giant house-sized monkey.
Oh my God.
That you wind up monkey that like clangs shit together, and he's like clanging it with his head in between the cymbals.
Which apparently was a Christmas gift at some point. Like,
Exactly. Can you imagine like if you like came down for Christmas and you're like, oh, I wonder what mum and dad got me. I mean, what Santa got me, and that's just fucking like sitting in your house.
Jesus. What would you do with it? Like, it's horrifying. I would like use it as like a scarecrow in like a farm or something. Like,
You'd get so many complaints from the neighbors. They'd be like, can you shut that thing up? It's so annoying.
jeez. I could not think of anything worse to have in my house.
Nathan, should we get into some special segments?
Yeah, let's do it, dude.
Special segment.
Ooh, so special.
MCU.
Oh.
Would the Grinch be a good addition to the Avengers or Thanos' crew, or
Oh boy, where does he belong in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Because I think he's a real good addition. Like I think he would offer.
So you reckon he works with the heroes? Like, or he's probably turned by this point. Like he's probably left Whoville. He's gotten off the snowflake. So like he's like crashed into like into the Marvel world. Well, he's got the dog. He's got the sled. Let's say he's got the light gun as well. Let's give him the light gun. I reckon he could be.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I reckon he could do some fun things in battles. You know.
He's his own agent. You know what I mean? Like I feel like in like Avengers: Age of Ultron, he would rock up with his light gun and just like start destroying robots. You know what I mean?
Just
Start
knocking them
tying
out of the
together
sky
and stuff.
Well, in Iron Man 3, that's set during Christmas, right? It's the only MC movie there is.
That's true. That is very true.
So I feel like that's where he would most belong. So I like to think that maybe like
I am the Mandarin.
So instead of Ben Kingsley, like RDJ rocks up and it's just like Jim Carrey in his little green makeup, just sitting there. It's the exact same thing. Where like instead of like Ben Kingsley, it's just Jim Carrey doing the Grinch.
He's there in his robe, like he's
his Mandarin
his Grinch
robe. What does Ben Kingsley say in that scene? He's just like, but it's Jim Carrey instead. Don't frighten the girls. And he's like holding his little like cup of like of Coca-Cola, like. Oh no, he falls asleep at one point. He's like, ole, 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 ole. And it's just Iron Man looking very confused.
He's like walks in and he's doing the prank call. He's like, is your fridge still running? Well, you better go catch it.
He just prank calls. Like Nick Fury's working at like the SHIELD offices and like picks up the phone. It's just Jim Carrey on the other side. Like,
but also, like the propaganda terrorist messages that are sent out from like the Mandarin.
Oh yeah,
it's like the Green. Like you're watching the 7 o'clock news and the Grinch comes on.
He's like, Chinese cookies are an American invention. It's the American Guzman Theater. But like, it's just Jim Carrey instead. Oh,
that's ridiculous.
I have taken your president. It's just like Jim Carrey in his little Santa hat. It'd be great.
Now, Nathan, should this movie be a musical? I know there's 3 songs in it.
I don't think so. Like, you know what? You could take the songs out. I think the movie would still work.
Totally. And also, like, I know that there's a musical called Seussical that exists.
Yeah, which apparently it was panned, right? It was terrible.
Yeah, apparently. But I don't know. It seems to pop up every now and then. People seem to enjoy it. I don't know enough about it.
Primary schools love it because it's a very kids' world, you know. Like,
yeah, totally.
tell you what, I would gouge my eyes out before I was forced to sit through a kid's production of this. Like, if I have a kid that does Seussical, I swear to God, I'm just gonna, I don't know, I'll have like some AirPods underneath like a balaclava and just like, you know, just sleep during the performance.
Totally. Now, Nathan, the most important question
Oh my
we have
goodness.
today is,
Did these characters
learn the true meaning of Christmas?
The episode of all episodes to bring this up, Brenton.
I argue yes. The Grinch did.
Yeah.
He had a turnaround. He was on top of the mountain. Maybe Christmas means a little bit more.
Yeah, but it's funny because it is like the dramatic question of this movie, the actual true meaning of Christmas. Like, that's what they're trying. It's not presents, it's family.
Yeah.
Although you could argue the food is kind of another consumerist angle you could take on it, but no, it's the people.
That is true.
It is the people.
Absolutely.
And recycling, maybe. Make sure you recycle your Christmas wrapping paper if you can. Put it in the right bin. That's your little PSA for this episode.
I hope you already did it because, you know.
They've just been sitting in a pile for 3 days. How long do you leave your tree up? Because ours is still up at the moment.
It varies. Nowadays we take it down straight away, but we used to
Till
leave it
March.
for ages. Yeah, man, like we'd leave it up for ages. Basically because, like, you know, in our household when I was growing up, the Christmas tree was so bloody big. Everyone was like, "Oh gosh, we have to like take that thing down." But eventually we do. We'd come around to it.
Would you put it up all together as a family as well?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Who's gonna put up the star this year? Who's gonna do it? You know, like all that.
I can imagine like half of you were just like smoking darts at the side, like, we don't care.
Now it's like, can you just do it? All right, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, everyone's just reluctant to now. Like,
Nathan,
yes.
what stills this movie?
Ooh, it's blinding.
So in case you lovely listeners haven't heard this show before, What Stills This Movie is a segment where myself or Nathan, or the two of us together, aka we did that today, we pick a single frame from the film we are reviewing, and we put that on our social channels, link below, and we pick this on the basis of it being funny, of it being an interesting piece of cinematography to chat about, or something that's just beautiful. Without a doubt, this still today is as
so
beautiful
funny.
an image as we've ever selected.
We both texted each other before this episode, like chatting about the stills, and we both picked this without thinking about the other, because it's like the first 5 minutes of the movie, and Jim Carrey has to go into town wearing a disguise, and the disguise he picks is this woolen kind of like brown hoodie thing that like bloody like a Death Eater would wear, or like, you know. He looks like
one of the bad guys from Kingdom Hearts. You know what I mean? He looks like one of the 13 or whatever, and they're bloody.
Mate, you know I don't get that reference.
Yeah, I know, but like, yeah, it reminds me of that shit so much.
But what makes it not work is the face mask he's chosen out of everything that he owns. How would you describe it, Brenton?
It's like okay, for me it's like a Halloween mask that the town have chosen, but it's like a Grinch mask. Like, it is a Grinch mask.
Yeah.
Like it is like basically the Grinch mask. It's hilarious that he picks this, and like no one like says anything to him. He's just like, oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's so bizarre, and it's like just the buck teeth. It's so unsettling. Like, it could be straight out of a horror film. Like, this easily could be in a horror film.
Absolutely.
I find the Scream mask more scary than this. Sorry, less scary than this.
I think that in Halloween.
This is the real fight. Grinch versus, what is it, Jason?
No, that's from Friday
I
the
always
13th.
get this
Halloween
mixed up.
is
Versus Mike Myers.
Yeah, Mike Myers. So Mike Myers should do away with his Will Shatner mask, and he should have worn this.
Oh my God. I could see it working. This feels very Purge. You know, in Purge they all have like stupid masks?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Whoville Purge.
Tell me you would not want to see that movie. Mate.
It would. I think it'd be too scary for cinema.
Could you
know what I
imagine
mean?
a Purge set in like the Dr. Seuss books, like Mike Myers, Cat in the Hat is in there, like the elephant from Horton Hears a Who's like stomping about, like, this would be cool.
Nathan, I think it's about time we looked at this film's poster.
Let's look at it. Brenton.
Yes.
Let's look at this film's poster.
But is it art?
What a stupid expression from Jim Carrey.
I think it's perfect, dude. Like, it's like, what else were you gonna do? Like, Jim Carrey is the Grinch's face in the Santa outfit with the Whoville Town and Mount Crumpet in the background. Like, it's kind of perfect.
I
Maybe
don't
Max
think
should
so.
be on there.
I don't think
don't know.
so. Like,
What should it have been then?
I think it should have been Jim Carrey, like running down the mountain. We see the village in the background, and it's like the silhouette of Jim Carrey with the big sack behind him. Like, just that is like a black and white kind of silhouette thing as we see him like walk. And like the poster's like monochromatic, but then the town's in color, and we see him like walking towards it, like creepily. I think that would have been a cool poster.
Yeah, that's fun. That's fun.
More artistic Brenton. Or him looking as though he's about to be hit in the headlights, you know? Like,
What about him in the sled? Like him and Max on the sled, like going down the mountain.
oh, no, because I like that being a surprise in the movie, if you don't know. I think there's revelation in that.
Alrighty, Nathan. Well, title talk.
Ooh, it's the title.
The Grinch. Was the Grinch
No.
in the Grinch?
We're going to go with the proper title that they use in America for this. How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
No, I refuse.
It's
It was
the
called
American
in
title.
Australia, The Grinch.
We always use the title from the country these movies come from, Brenton. It's a rule of the
Fine.
podcast. Also, it's the name of the book, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And also, there's more shit to say about this title than just The Grinch, by the way.
I like The Grinch more as a title. For
I
a
do
film,
too.
Because I think...
But this movie is called How the Grinch Stole Christmas. So does this show how the Grinch stole Christmas?
Well, it does.
It does do that.
And then it also shows how he gave it all back. So
That's the subtitle. How the Grinch Stole Christmas and how he gave it back. And you can too! Exclamation mark.
subplot involving Cindy Lou. No.
But it's a pretty terrible title, isn't it?
It's just a big mouthful, isn't it?
Yeah. How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
But it's the name of the book. I mean, like, I get it.
Yeah.
I think the Grinch, we got a way better title.
Yeah, Australia got the Grinch, which is good.
Yep.
I feel like the Australian censorship was like, back in like the 2000s, like, nah, mate, that's a bit too much of a mouthful.
How the Grinch Stole Christmas? Nah, mate, just call it Grinch.
Just slap a Grinch on it, that'll do ya. I don't see a Grinch in my billabong. I really like to think the Australian MPAA is just like one guy who's had the job for like 50 years. Like, he's just choosing all of us.
Oi, Barry, what do you reckon's more dangerous? A croc doing a death roll or the Grinch stealing Christmas?
It reminds me of that Simpsons skit where like they're trying to get in contact with the Prime Minister and like, you know, the guy walks out of his arm, he's like, oi, Prime Minister! And it's just like a guy floating on like the little lake. Like, that's exactly how they rate movies in Australia. Which, by the way, if you know Australian censorship like kind of opinions and where they sit, that would make a lot of sense.
Totally.
Yeah, it really would. What's a better title? Are we just going to leave it at The Grinch?
Just the Grinch. The Grinch is perfect.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, good. I'm glad we got there.
Let's pass that power to the people.
Pass it here.
What?
The power to the people.
So if you guys go over to this website called Rotten Tomatoes, you can see the tomato meter. And on the tomato meter, the Grinch has, or Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, has a critical consensus of 50% with an audience score of 56%. So mixed bag all around.
Very mixed bag.
Of goodies.
And you know what? Even though I probably dislike this film more than you, I still think those are unfair numbers.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I totally
that's way
agree.
too hard. But we'll get into it. But look at the box office, which, you know, for the filmmakers could be as more important because costs. By the way, this cost $123 million to make back in a lot of money back then.
They invested in this film.
But it made $345. So, you know, Ron Howard had a very good Christmas.
Nathan Rabin from AV Club, a top critic as well, gave it a rotten review and said, Director Ron Howard aims for the beautifully stylized mayhem of Frank Tashlin and Tim Burton, but he comes closer to the clamorous, headache-inducing visual overkill of Joel Schumacher's Batman movies.
It's funny since Joel Schumacher passed, those Batman movies have gotten a little bit more praise, which is very interesting. I always find that interesting after filmmakers pass when you look in a retrospective of their work. I still have a lot of issues with them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They've got issues, but they're pretty fun to... Well, actually, no. Like,
Should
I
we
always
do
argue
them
with Batman and Robin.
Down the track, like all four?
Yeah, I reckon. We'll probably do it at some stage.
Because
Look,
you know what we should do? We should wait till The Flash comes out when Michael Keaton returns as Batman for The Flash.
no, we should wait till Robert Pattinson's The Batman comes out, and we'll do it as a...
Which comes first? Actually, yeah, I think it will be Rob Pat's Batman. Rob Pat's Batman. That's what they're calling it.
Absolutely. Robbie Pat Batman.
Yeah, we should look at all four of them because they're very interesting films.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But anyway, back to the criticism. Like, yeah, I can see that Ron Howard is kind of being a little bit derivative in the work. Like, it doesn't really feel that Ron Howard-y in that sense.
Yeah, but it's original. I'd argue that, yeah, it doesn't quite hit the heights of, like, maybe Tim Burton, but it's got its own, like we were saying with the production design and the makeup, it's got its own look and its own style and whatnot. Yeah, it might be a bit of a visual overkill at times, I think, but I think that's kind of the point as well.
It's like Brenton.
Yeah, I'm just the point.
Audrey Rock Richardson from To Eel Transcript Bulletin in Utah didn't like it either, Brenton. She wrote, so the true meaning of Christmas and the simplicity of Dr. Seuss's classic holiday message were exploited by the crass commercialism of Universal Pictures. Did we really expect anything different? B-. I get the irony. I get the irony that Universal's Pictures is doing a very commercialistic act by making a story that kind of attacks commercialism. So, like,
but
what can you do?
I mean, like, I don't have a strong enough opinion on that. I guess I don't have much to add.
There we
So,
go.
like, oh, interesting.
Thanks for listening to our podcast. We try to give some opinions on this show.
Such as Sterling R's opinion, who gave it 3.5 stars. It does have some humour that isn't very fitting for a Dr. Seuss movie, but because Jim Carrey was perfect as the Grinch, and the production design was fantastic, and the rest of the acting was solid, this is a good Christmas movie, but obviously not as good as the cartoon.
Have you seen the cartoon from the 60s?
No, I haven't.
Oh, I've only seen the music video of it, of the original song.
I've seen a bit of that. I haven't seen the whole thing, but so I don't know. I can't compare
I
it.
feel like I know now. Like it's sweet and it's very 60s and of its time, but it's very closer to the book. I get that, but like again, theatrically, if you just did that, look at the animated one that just came out 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it would add that much more. At least this movie is.
Yeah.
So you can give it props there. Like look at what David L says. He gave it 5 stars because he says, "I'll never understand people's general dislike of this movie. It's a great and whimsical homage to the original, and I think it nails the essence of the short cartoon perfectly. Instant Christmas classic in my opinion."
Good on you, David L.
People do champion it because they know it's not trying to replicate the book. It's trying to do its own thing.
Tell you,
Yeah.
it's doing its own thing, which I appreciate, because I can read that book anytime I want to.
Well done for Brenton being able to read a children's book by Dr. Seuss.
Yay! I've come a long way. Maya Mathuru on YouTube made a little comment and said, "The fact he was naked the whole time never crossed my mind." I'd like to point out that it did cross my mind at a point.
Yeah.
I was like, that's kind of hilarious in a way that he's just kind
There's
of
a lot
there,
of fur
like,
covering
stark.
his bits and pieces, so...
Especially when he's raised. Maybe it's like, because he's raised in clothes. Like he's at school in the school uniform. He's always in clothes. And for some reason, maybe it's just him around his own house. He's just bloody like hanging out, not wearing anything,
It's true.
But even his Santa outfit only has the top half covered.
It's like Winnie the Pooh, isn't it? Just like
Yeah.
clothed up top, out front below, so...
Precisely.
I don't know if I'll be wearing that this Christmas.
I know I won't be, but it's up to you, dude.
I mean, Christmas has come and gone, so I got away with it this time. And lastly, YZ on YouTube wrote, "LMAO, as an adult, I'm enjoying this even more."
Oh, yeah. That's what I
Yeah.
like to hear, YZ.
Yeah. Tell you what, if you watch this as a kid, you should revisit it. I think there is something new to get from a revisit. Yeah.
Absolutely. Guys, that was The Grinch.
We finally did it.
Thank you so much for joining us on our Christmas special.
Oh.
Nathan, thanks for doing this, by the way. Thanks for agreeing to this. I appreciate that you finally allowed me to do this episode.
I don't know. After Black Cauldron and Return to Oz, I'm like, I don't know how many more of these I can do.
How many more Brenton suggestions? Well, every now and then I make a good one and we have a Wild Wild West or something. You know what I mean?
That is like your fucking tenet to this podcast. It's like the fact you did Wild
Exactly.
Wild West. It's like, it's your golden goose.
I get all the suggestions now for sure.
Oh, God
I
damn
can
it.
suggest away.
No more Billy Wilder.
Well, guys, if you have suggestions for us, get on over to our Twitter, get on over to our Instagram, the YouTube, or our email, and send us what you thought of this movie. But let us know if there's any other Christmas movies,
Yeah,
old
what's your
Christmas
favourites?
movies, old movies in general. Let us know. Get on to us. Tell us
Yeah.
what you think.
We got a brand new year ahead of us, Brenton.
New year,
Oh.
new me.
I am so excited for 2020 to be over, Brenton. Oh, what a year.
In all seriousness, yeah, it has been an interesting year, and I'm sure for some of our listeners, maybe it was challenging at times, and it was challenging for us at times.
I'd be very surprised if it wasn't challenging for anyone at times. Like,
Yeah.
what a just horrendous thing. But you know what? I feel like there's good on the horizon, Brenton. I feel like
That's it. The optimist in me says that things will hopefully
should be dramatically better.
get better, and if they're not at the moment, like, we wish you all the best, and we hope things do get better and you find a way through it. Honestly, without this podcast, the year would have been a lot worse.
Brenton
So,
would have become the Grinch himself.
exactly. I was growing green fur.
Oh no.
So thank you for listening in, and all your support means the world to us.
And thanks for a great year as well. If you've been listening, for the whole year, even before that, you came on board this year. It's so wonderful to have you involved with the show. Like we at the start of this year, we told you guys we wanted to talk to you more. And also what was really
Absolutely.
cool that we got to do this year for the first time is actually invite some amazing people onto the show with us. And it was wonderful seeing you guys be so supportive of it.
Like you said, we had some awesome conversations, and they all contributed in various different ways and added something to the show, that wasn't there before. So
From the highs of my mother to the lows of Logan.
we've been all over
All around.
the place. But yeah, like on the horizon, we can't wait to bring you another year of content, of our content. We hope you join us then. But until then,
We'll be here again every week.
and we'll see you soon.
We'll see you next week. See you next week to look back on the year. We'll do what we did last year. We're gonna look at 2020 in retrospect, which will be very interesting considering the limited theatrical releases.
But until then, Nathan, I'm just gonna slyly slink out of the room with your presence. So
What?
don't mind me.
No, Brenton. I have new podcast equipment in there. We can use it. Don't steal it.
Max, attack! Woof woof.
What? Ah!